Hi, my name is Hannah Slate, and this is a time lapse of my design process for creating an Instagram advertisement for a mock museum exhibition on the work of George Auriol. George Auriol, originally named Jean-Georges Auriol, was born on April 26, 1863 in Beauvais, France. Throughout his life, he became a jack of many artistic trades such as graphic design, typography, illustration, printmaking, poetry, writing, and even songwriting. He was most popularly known for his work in the realms of graphic design and typography. Auriol moved to Paris, France in 1883 at the age of 20 to pursue his career in the arts and design. Auriol landed his first job at the magazine Le Chat Noir, translating to The Black Cat, as part of the editorial staff in 1883. The Le Chat Noir cabaret that was under the same ownership as the magazine was very popular during the 1860s and throughout the 1890s because of the avant-garde art scene that surrounded it. Artists and nonconformists alike were drawn to the hilltop of Montmartre, Paris because of the views and bohemian nightlife. Auriol worked as the writer and artist for Le Chat Noir for 10 years, creating many of the brand's visual elements and promotionals. His most famous piece from his time at Le Chat Noir was the original tour poster for the cabaret performers that featured a large black cat and the name of the nightclub owner, Rodolphe Salas. It is said that Salas saw a black cat cross his path during the construction of the cabaret and decided to name the business accordingly. Auriol's poster design was reused and redesigned for many future Le Chat Noir promotionals and tour posters because of its timeless style and unique branding. Today, the legacy of this period of Art Nouveau carries on in the form of a restaurant that uses the original black cat and font from his poster for its logo. While Auriol was most famous for the branding of the nightclub, he also created beautiful art for the magazine and book covers, menus, decorated sheet music, and programs for the theater performances. The more projects he took on, the more he began to experiment with the use of softer, more natural colors and more intricate brushstrokes. Auriol's art also helped develop the style of shadow theater, which was the use of silhouettes in stage performances, which eventually inspired many other printmakers to use shadow figures in their own work. Beginning in 1888, Auriol's inspiration from Japanese art and culture became clearer through his creation of monograms and marks for various artists, including himself. These monograms were his interpretation of traditional Japanese signature seals that families would use to mark official documents rather than signing with a pen. He created monograms for many artists, authors, and publishers such as Georges Mareu and Louis Marin. Auriol used these monograms and other book designs that he had created to publish his first book with Henry Flowery in 1901 titled The First Book of Seals, Marks, and Monograms, respectively. After that, he went on to publish books 2 and 3 in this series in 1908 and 1924. Auriol left Le Chat Noir officially in 1893 and began working with color lithography around the same time that he was working on his monogram book trilogy. Color lithography was the process of using heavy rollers or rolling machines with applied pressure to stamp each layer of color on the same canvas or paper. He started work with the guidance and teachings of Henri Riviere to create over 30 prints that showed the industrial views of Paris and genre-style landscapes. All of the prints are marked with Henri's HR monogram that Auriol designed for him and are numbered in order of completion. In 1900, Maurice Pillaert-Vernou released a collection of stencils in the style of Art Nouveau that followed the theme of nature, plants, flowers, and fruits. Some of Auriol's stencils were included in this collection along with various other artists, printmakers, and designers at that time. The usage of color in these frames and patterns reverts back to the softer pastel tones that Auriol added to his prints for the theater programs at Le Chat Noir. His signature flourishes and leaf shapes that he used frequently in his book designs and typography accents are seen throughout the stencils in this collection. Auriol is known as one of the most notable French graphic designers during the style of Art Nouveau and is even referred to as a Renaissance man. His vast experience with printing, color theory, and organic shapes combined with bold illustrations and fonts made Auriol one of the most sought-after designers of his time. Being such a household name in the realm of graphic design meant that there was only one thing left for him to accomplish: a font named after himself. Auriol is described by many as the perfect Art Nouveau typeface that combined the elegance of handwritten calligraphy with the high contrast and bold line work that made it a staple for the movement. Auriol also inspired the designer for the Paris metro stations, Hector Guimard, to use a similar font for the metro entryways. Since the creation of this typeface in 1901, over the next 10 years he would go on to create 5 more called Auriol Champlave, Auriol Labour, Clair de Lune, Franchet Laguerre, and Robert. As mentioned many times throughout this video, Auriol was described as a pioneer of the Art Nouveau style in France and had all of his work associated with its characteristics. Art Nouveau is defined by natural ornamentive forms and frames paired with colorful, detailed drawings and prints. While this style does match what Auriol created throughout his life on paper, he was actually very annoyed and offended when being compared to the style. Auriol was always trying to be unconventional and stay true to his inspirations, so Art Nouveau was simply a new trend or fad in his eyes, which made him feel like his work was being overlooked as a style, rather than focusing on himself as an individual artist. I'm sure he would hate being grouped into it even now in 2021. Even so, he has accomplished more as a graphic designer than most of the traditional greats that I've learned about in my education so far. I hope that I've honored his legacy in the Instagram advertisement you've been watching me create, and if this were real, I'd hope that you would see this on your feed and be interested in seeing more of his work. Thank you for watching and listening. Au revoir.